Hey y'all, it's Riot. Welcome back to Weekly Hyperfixations. Great, excellent news. Theater hiatus is over. What that really means is that I just have more time to do this for a while because I'm not doing theater at the moment. The show went really well and I loved it. And I've already been asked to do another show, but not for a couple months. So, yippee! Um, so there's the personal update for y'all. Um, so on the docket this week, um, I realized I started kind of leaning in towards talking about things that just aren't hyperfixation related, and so we're kind of dialing back on those things and getting back into the real shit that I wanted to talk about in the first place. So thank God I realized that, and that we're pivoting a little right back towards the beginning. um, so, on the docket, everything is theater or fandom related, technically. Um, and then the pyramid's kind of everywhere with that kind of thing. So first and foremost, the Oscars happened this week. Um, a lot of things happened. Adrian Brody, for some reason, gave a 5-minute speech, even though, as Kieran Culkin reminded and directly mentioned Adrian Brody's name on stage while he said it, was that the allotted time is 45 seconds. Okay? And let me tell you, it is not that hard to say everything you need to say in 45 seconds. Literally, that just feels like a flashback to speech and debate training. Okay? And I didn't even do that for more than a couple months. Okay? And it still stuck with me, so like I know, listen, this is a professional. I know he's capable of only taking 45 seconds. Dude was ridiculous. Also, the fact that well, I guess those the the award I'm thinking of where Kieran Culkin specifically told Adrian Brody that it was a 45-second speech limit was not the Oscars. That was the SAG-AFTRA Awards, which I talked about last week. By the way, that the award you get at the SAG Awards, that thing is like 12 pounds, which is insane, but also it really does feel like a theater thing to be like, okay, we're going to be handing out these statues. We are going to make this prop as genuine as possible kind of vibe. Also, somehow, first of all, the public is not at all pleased with the Academy voters, the people who vote on the Oscars. Because first of all, Ariana Grande lost the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress to Zoe Saldana for Emilia Perez. Okay. First of all, I saw an image that was side-by-side pictures of Zoe Saldana holding different awards and Ariana Grande in the crowd, who was also nominated for each of those categories or whatever. And in every single thing that she was nominated for, Zoe Saldana won instead, which is infuriating a little bit. I'm not like a massive Ariana Grande fan. But it is weird to me that it kind of just feels like they don't want her to win because for some reason they don't see her as an actress, and they instead see her as a music artist, which is really funny because she started out with acting. So, and also it made me realize that there's a high likelihood that a lot of the made me realize that a lot of the Academy voters are probably older. I don't, it's not really clear. It's not really common knowledge what the demographic is there. So I think that also could be part of it, and we just don't know what the demographic really looks like there. But the second Saldana got her award engraved, she immediately, openly and televised live, admitted that she was aware of all of the controversy surrounding the movie and how trans people and a very large amount of Hispanic people felt that the movie was just making fun of them and was terrible. And she literally said, I hear you, I don't agree with that. And then she proceeded to be like, well, you would do the same thing if instead of Hispanic people, it was this group or this group or this group, which really really shows that it was a paycheck for her. It was literally a paycheck for her. And for some reason, they gave her an Oscar for it. Very confusing. And I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe she herself is. Before I saw the thing she said after getting her award carved, her moment on stage was sweet, I guess, where she was like, her mom was there and stuff. But to contrast that moment with her then going and saying, hey, I hear that you guys are offended by this movie. I functionally don't care. What the fuck? Anyway. And I'd like to read to you a few reviews on Letterboxd of the movie. This person watched it on March 4th. So literally, what day is it? They literally watched it today. They gave it half of a star. Pretty much the first paragraph is like, these people should be banned from Mexico, period, like hard stop. But the line from this review that really hit was, I used to dream of winning an Oscar one day. Now that price means nothing to me. As in, this person really wanted, like, one of their life goals was to win an Oscar. And now they feel like that winning an Oscar means nothing. So, which honestly, I vibe with that a bit. This is another review. A singular star. So, half a star more than the previous review. They watched it on January 9th. It says, misguided, ugly, and bafflingly regressive. A pretty major backward step for trans representation because of how anchored it is by its heinous stereotypes. And then there's a hyphen. Will undoubtedly go down as one of the worst ever films to receive multiple Oscar noms. And that's saying something. A complete and utter calamity from start to finish. This next review is my favorite review of this movie that I saw. And I looked through probably about 100 of the reviews on Letterboxd. This person also watched it on January 9th. And they gave it 1 star. And all the review says is, I'm sorry, Madam Webb. Perhaps I treated you too harshly. Which to me is just crazy that it was that bad, because I know I'm way more familiar with Madam Web and how bad that was. So to see that, I was like, oh, I knew it was terrible, but the fact that the movie was so terrible that someone apologized to Madam Web is crazy. This person, this next review, they watched it on March 1st. So they watched it right before the Oscars. So, you know, kind of feels like they were watching it specifically to watch all the Oscar noms ahead of the Oscars, which a lot of people do. This person watched, or I already covered that. They watched it March 1st. They gave it half a star. Watched the first 5 minutes of this while painfully hungover, and by the middle of the first song, I was begging for it to be turned off. Terrible musicality, awful songwriting. And then in parentheses, Oscar is spinning in his urn. Absolutely mental storyline. Why was this made? Feels transphobic and offensive to each of my 5 senses. I will not be returning to this except to take the piss out of while faded with friends, if even. Absolute dog shit. Okay. This person watched it on the 2nd of March. 1 star. Watched this like 2 days ago, and it was so bad that I forgot to log it. Saldana does her best to save this house on fire, but it crumbles insanely fast. If you're trying to watch everything that was nominated for Best Picture, don't waste your time on this. Watch something else. Oh, this is not in English. This review is 1.5 stars. Oh, this is in French. I should know what this is. Oh, it just says, please stop the music, Jacques. Cool. This is a very unserious review. Please, please, please hit me up if you do illegal memory wiping surgeries. Serious inquiries only. And then this another half-star review in French. I came to try and understand. I don't understand. This is absurd. Ooh, and then January 6th, 2025, 1.5 star review. Impressive. A musical with 0 good songs. If Selena Gomez gets nominated for an Oscar for this performance, I am keying the Academy's cars. Good news for that person. I don't think she got nominated for that. Excuse me. I have more. Well, actually, I only have one more that I had to put through Google Translate because it was in French, but some of the words I've never seen before. They the cool thing about this review was it said, this movie reminds me of a block of polystyrene covered in pastry cream and decorated like a cake. You see it, you want to taste it, but as soon as you cut yourself a piece, you realize that it's inedible and you've been lied to. Which is crazy. So that's how I feel. I share the sentiment with all of those. And I know I haven't seen it because I don't want to waste my time, but I've seen that one clip with the doctor in it and Saldana singing. First of all, you couldn't get people experienced in like musical theater for this. Every single song sounds dry, even past the composition and the actual lyrics. Even aside from that, the songs feel flat because of how they're sung. And except for, I presume, Selena Gomez's, but that's because they got Selena Gomez. But also, I told my housemates that it's really funny that I know that their conservative mother would agree with us on not liking the movie because we would both not like that song for different reasons, obviously. Okay. The camera started glitching for a second. So, if I had to cut part of that out, Basically my housemate's mom would agree with us on our opinions of Emilia Perez based off of that one song about surgery. Obviously, we would be agreeing that the movie sucks for different reasons, but the fact that we can agree that it's bad is crazy. All right. What else do we got? Okay. I mentioned in last week's episode that I would probably yap a bunch about the Pokemon Legends Z to A trailer because it came out, a couple days before a couple days after, the last episode came out. I'll be so real. I saw so many things where people loved it and so many things where people hated it. It kind of just felt mid. It wasn't crazy, and it also, the way they are structuring the areas in which you can catch wild Pokemon is really weird, and I'm really concerned that basically the game takes place in what is functionally Paris. And it appears to take place only within the city walls of Paris. Granted, very large city. However, for a Pokemon game in which usually you can go to several towns or several areas, it feels much smaller. Which they've tried to compensate for by letting you go up onto rooftops and parkour, which is weird, by the way. But it's cool movement tech, but it feels weird for a Pokemon game. But so they've tried to compensate by letting you go up to rooftops to catch other kinds of Pokemon. It really doesn't feel like a great idea to me, because if in theory and every single Pokemon game has legendary Pokemon that you usually have to go to a special area or you have to solve like this riddle thing or whatever. But usually you have to go to a special area to catch legendaries. How the hell are you going to do that if you're within city walls at all times? Does that mean you're going to push a DLC? The only legendary Pokemon featured in the trailer was Zygarde, which makes sense. But also, there are 2 other legendaries, first of all, because this is the Pokemon X and Y generation. There's 3 legendaries. Also, I don't even remember doing Zygarde stuff in original X and Y. I only remember doing that in Sun and Moon. So that's all weird to me. They didn't show us any new forms of Pokemon. They didn't show us any new Pokemon in general. Which is a little strange considering this game is supposedly coming out by the end of the year. So I'm assuming we'll have another Pokemon Direct. Probably in like August maybe, or July. So I don't know how to feel about that. But overall, I'd say it's pretty mid. It is there's new elements to the battling system that are similar to the previous Pokemon Legends game, Pokemon Legends Arceus. But, I will say that the tweaks they've done to battling is cool because it really gives more input that relates it to the anime better, in which, sometimes people are moving with the Pokemon. Pokemon trainers in the anime sometimes appear exhausted after doing a battle. Even in the games, sometimes they'll, their end dialogue line will be something about being exhausted from battle. Even though in the games they don't move, they've functionally fixed that little discrepancy. But otherwise, again, it was really mid. We got to see my homie AZ, though. I'm excited about that. It's been 3,000 years. Also, I'm really pissed off that they're making you functionally choose between having the male rival or the female rival. And I know they share the same exact models with the player characters, but I really wish that you could have both of them as like a rival duo and they're twins, so that you get more of a triangle thing going on. And also that lends to, in a lot of the Pokemon games, you pick your starter, one of your rivals will choose, your main rival will choose the whatever starter is strongest against yours, though in some games they choose the one that's weaker, and then another person takes the other one. Sometimes it's the professor, sometimes it's, like in Scarlet and Violet, it's the director of the academy, who you do fight later, so you do see that Pokemon later. But it's one of those things where it corresponds to which gender you choose at the beginning of the game. I also think it's weird that they're not having it be a set of twins, because in Pokemon X and Y, you had not one rival, not two rivals, but 4 rivals. You had the other protagonist, which was either Serena or Callum. Then you had Shauna, Tierno, and I want to say his name's like Max or something. What is that kid's name? Trevor. His name's Trevor. I love when I do that silly little thing where I open my phone to look something up, and the second the screen turns on, I remember anyway. But yeah, I just think it's weird that there's only one rival, considering this game had a lot of them. To be fair, that was a big criticism some people had of the game, is it felt unnecessary. But only having one when we've had so many games where we basically have 2 or more, it feels a little weird to backtrack on that, but you know, it's not the end of the world. That's not something to be super picky about. So yeah, it was pretty mid. They did show 2 characters that I did not clock as looking like other characters, ancestors or descendants. In this case, I think it would be descendants. I did not clock them as that. But I have seen it now, and I've seen comparison images, and I'm like, yes, definitely. For Jet, and I want to say his name's like Vinny or something like that. It was something. Also, love the little Pancham and Baneri things in his hair. All right. Now we're gonna be talking about. Now we are going to serious. All right. Hold on. I'm about to cough my head off. I'll be one moment. Okay. I've coughed my lungs out a little bit. I'm not sick anymore. I just have that like residual thing going on. Happens. Okay. So here we are going to get serious. All right. You know what I'm talking about. So I'd like to take a moment. Actually, before I talk about that, this is an unrelated thing that I'm not going to talk a lot about at all. I'm literally going to verbatim read my note on it. Unrelated, but I found out that Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post. So now that makes sense. So that's my note on that. I just closed my notes even though I need them later for the pyramid. I'm a little silly today, y'all. Okay. Also, a random thing before I get into the serious. Started working out in a more official capacity, going to the gym with my partner and his friend, and muscles I didn't realize weren't strong now hurt. Especially right, I guess that would be pecs hurt. Anyway, gonna get serious. All right, y'all. And I'm about to go off because I get really upset about this kind of thing. Okay, so I would like to take a moment to talk about fandom culture and etiquette. And by that I mean fandom etiquette, not etiquette in general. So how do I start this off? I saw a tweet a little while ago, and I think I touched on this last week, if I remember correctly. Didn't I? Yes, I did. So, last week I mentioned that I saw a tweet that said, guys, can we not do this? And it was someone quote retweeting a post in which someone was shipping two characters that don't interact in whatever media they're from, and then another ship next to it, because they were just posting like a couple of their favorite ships. And the other one they posted was two characters who are not from the same media at all. They are not from the same franchise. Okay, you with me? And they said, can we not do this? First of all, is this your house? But here's the thing, is that I think the reason we've seen such a rapid decline in fandom culture is because, you know, I don't necessarily like using the word normies, but that's really the only way to describe people like this. In 2020, all these normies had nothing to do. They weren't going to school where they could hang out with their normie friends. They had to do everything online. So they started consuming media that they don't usually consume. And then they get into fandom culture because a lot of things on TikTok at the time that were popular also happened to be fandom culture related. And I think that large influx of people who are not familiar with fandom etiquette, they functionally swooped in and disregarded any form of etiquette in general, not just fandom etiquette, but just like basic respecting other people things. All right. A good example of what I mean by that in terms of fandom etiquette is, first of all, things like how rapidly the My Hero fandom declined. And how at the beginning of My Hero it was pretty okay, and then all of a sudden My Hero as a fandom went really downhill really fast. And to the point in which once My Hero anime was announced to be ending, the Don fandom got scared because they were like, oh, they're probably going to come over here because the media has a similar-ish vibe, enough so that they immediately clocked it as, uh-oh, they're going to come here. And when they inevitably did, when the My Hero fandom inevitably did move over to the Don fandom after the My Hero anime ended, they literally chased an artist and a VA off Twitter over a fan art of Okaroon that was drawn to resemble the English VA, who is, I believe, African American, I think. And so functionally, that was a fandom losing content, going into another fandom, and then subsequently immediately ruining it for everyone, basically. And so that's one example of what I mean by disregarding etiquette. Another thing is, I think also with how social media changed during lockdown, where everyone could be an asshole online because no one was allowed to talk in person, really made people okay with disregarding common sense boundaries. And by that, I mean the fact that people think they have an authority over other people's opinions, basically. That's the base concept here. Like, you know, there's some people who argue that the only ships that you're allowed to ship are canon. Buddy, you're insane. Especially when a lot of older media, there were no canon ships. So what are you supposed to do about that? Huh? What are you supposed to do when no one's together? Not think, hey, these characters would be cute together. Like, what do you mean? Let people have their own opinions about fandom culture. It's not that deep, guys. Like, I know there's fandoms in which, you know, anything from a VA is a terrible person, the creator's a terrible person, any of those things, people can still enjoy that media, especially in the sense that a lot of times, you know, you don't find out that the VA or the creator is a bad person until after you've already seen the media. So if you then just don't watch the media again, that's fine. Because you didn't know that you were supporting a terrible person when you watched it. You know, you can't unwatch it. You can't delete that from your brain. You know what I mean? And it's like, I can't express how much it makes me mad that people just won't let you have an opinion about a piece of fiction. Like, buddy, it's not real. I understand getting uppity about people's opinions about real life things because, like, especially with politics, I can understand people getting uppity at each other because that involves your actual real life more. Your anime opinions do not necessarily, in fact, I should hope they don't affect your everyday life. I should hope that that's not something that you're constantly worried about. You know what I mean? Because it's not a, like, it's so, it makes me so angry. Not angry, more just frustrated and disappointed to see people genuinely be like, well, you can't draw them like that. They're not like this in the media. Cool, it's called a headcanon? It is called a headcanon. And guess what? There are worse ones than this. And this is the hill you're choosing to die on? Buddy, get a grip. Literally get a grip. Oh. I also think that the influx of people into fandoms from 2020 and being allowed to say anything on the internet because no one was allowed to say shit in person to each other is also why culture around celebrities has gotten so bad, because there's way more anonymity than you should be allowed to have at that point, for especially if you're saying shit like that, you know what I mean? But I'd love to give y'all an example of proper fandom etiquette, okay? And if the friend who I'm vague talking about sees this, I hope, I don't necessarily expect you to try to understand my POV on this. Sorry. It was a biter that freaked me out. Anyways, if the friend who I'm vague talking about sees this, I don't think any different of you because you like this fandom. I just don't like the creator, and I don't like the things they've done, and I don't think they're handling anything about the situation very well. But I have also seen some of this media, so, like, you know what I mean? I have a friend who had, you know, past couple of months or whatever, has been working on some cosplays, and they're all, at least I think they're all, at least the ones that they talked about the most are a Has-Been Hotel cosplay and a Hell of a Boss cosplay. I do not like the creator of the show. I think she's handling most things poorly. In terms of, you know, design decisions, from anything from design decisions, sorry, up to just how she's handling criticism. It's all, the way she's handling criticism is not very mature. And hold on. Okay. Sorry, I talked to one of my housemates for a second. But basically, as I was saying, I don't really vibe with those fandoms at all. And because I don't vibe with those fandoms at all, it's a little awkward for me to be like, oh, cool, you know, when, you know, they're telling me what characters they're cosplaying. And, but as a fellow theater kid, I can be like, oh, hell yeah, you made that yourself. That's sick as hell. Slash positive. But, you know, they're telling me all about these cosplays that are from one, you know, one from Has Been, one from Helava, respectively. And I don't like that fandom in general. As like a very generalized, like, I don't interact with it, I'm not a part of it, that kind of thing. But lo and behold, I did not say that because I'm not a dick. They're all excited telling me about these things, and I haven't seen Has Been Hotel, but I have seen some of Hell of a Boss. I've seen, I don't know if that would be considered like the first season or whatever. And not the one with the bee thing. I haven't seen that episode. But it's not like I'm not familiar with it, you know? But even though I am of the opinion that, like, the creator is not a good person, they don't handle things well or maturely, lo and behold, you can just not say that and not be a dick to someone who is really into that, you know? Like, people really don't have a concept that you can do that. Hey, y'all, you can do that. You can not like a fandom and not bring that up to the person who is excitedly telling you about it. Okay? Be nice, for fuck's sake. Like, dude. So in general, my big issue with fandom culture and etiquette is that it's become like 30 times more toxic than it used to be for like no reason, basically. To the point in which I used to think that Japan's fandom culture was almost too strict, basically, in comparison to America's, but I thought that in like 2013, or 2014, I guess, because I was like, oh, Americans are so laissez-faire about it, they don't really care, they kind of just leave each other alone. And lo and behold, 11 years later, if you say that you like if you literally just tweet, hey, I like this character, people are like, oh, so do you hate all the other characters? Sorry, what? Are you insane? Where did I say that? Literally, where did I say that? You are creating a non sequitur argument. You are getting this out of literal thin air. Why? Why? Like, listen, do you like get off on arguing with people? Like, what is wrong with you? Just be people used to be normal about things. People used to be normal about things, and now they're simply not. And it's the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life, actually. So that's whimsical and fun. It's not. Okay, I've been yapping way longer than I should. So, we're going to move on to the pyramid this week. All right. So, our pyramid has two fictional characters on it. And the rest are, in fact, celebrities that have been relevant this week. And one is even on here due to something I literally saw today. So yeah. So at the first spot on the pyramid, and I mentioned him earlier when I was talking about the Pokemon Legends Z to A trailer. We have AZ, or Az, I guess, but I refer to him as AZ. I assume either is probably fine. It's a fictional character. But the reason he's on here is not because he's a good person. He does, well, I guess he does have a redemption arc that takes 3,000 years, but it's been 3,000. That meme that I've put up more than once, the it's been 3,000 years, that's literally the moment that his redemption is confirmed. That Pokemon appearing is like the seal of you have been redeemed, basically. He's a really cool character. He used to be king of the region or whatever. And hold on. So he had been king of the entire region, but then he basically had like a Dr. Octopus make a machine almost kill things, or actually did kill things in this case, and then didn't understand what he was doing because he didn't like test it enough or whatever. But basically now he's a probably 5,000-year-old man who was exposed to the energy of the machine he made. So now he's like at least 8 feet tall, if not 9 feet tall, even though he is a human man. And he's still got that Pokemon with him. So this is definitely taking place in the future, which is cool. And what's really funny is he goes from looking like a homeless man in Pokemon X and Y, because, you know, he's functionally been exiled and also has been alive for 3,000 years. And now he owns a hotel in France. But he's on the pyramid because I think he's a very silly character design, and I enjoy his character design a lot. So he's on the pyramid. Next up, because I was looking at the Oscars red carpet and the Vanity Fair after party carpet, and then I started thinking about the Met Gala, as you do, because that's the big red carpet event, because that's kind of the more artsy one that more people look at. And it reminded me of the Hellfire Gala, which is a Marvel thing. And I was looking at this past year, 2024's Hellfire Gala outfits that people designed. And a lot of them were cool. Some of them I didn't like necessarily. Didn't really understand the one that Hope Summers was wearing. I'm not gonna put it up, but it was like red and spiky, and I just did not know why it was like that. But I don't really know a lot about that character, so maybe it makes more sense if you know about the character. But so I decided, and I had to choose between this character and Colossus, because damn, did you see the art for Colossus? Woo! But I chose this character to be on the pyramid over Colossus because I was like, I think it's just because I think Colossus looks hot in this image. So I'm not choosing him because I feel like that's too biased towards the character, and what I'm looking for is who I think is the best dressed. Okay? And I was not familiar with this character prior to this. I'd seen him a couple times. But next up on the pyramid is Sync. He is affiliated with the X-Men. I believe his first comic appearance was in the 90s, so fairly new character. But his suit is so beautiful. And, you know, I don't particularly like looking at the men on the red carpet most of the time, because it's just a dude in a suit, not that interesting. I will say there is one person, the next person on the pyramid is a man who is in a suit, in 2 different suits for the Oscars and the Vanity Fair carpet. But he does it in a tasteful way where it's not just a suit. But anyways, so I saw Sync's outfit and went, okay, now we're really cooking here. Because it's not gaudy in any way. It's not gaudy, it's not overdoing it, but it's also not too bland. And I do think it's because his power is related to aura stuff. So it's got a lot of colors on it. And I do think that's what's saving it here. In which it's kind of like a Captain Obvious level of, oh, of course that would be the detailing. But also in a way that makes him look really good, to the point in which this singular outfit got me to learn more about the character. There were plenty of other characters that I don't know anything about, like, what was their name? Like Aurora? Never heard of her. The dress was okay. But, you know, so I'm looking at all these characters that they had on Hellfire Gala covers, and I was like, I either don't know these characters or I don't necessarily like them. There was one that had a bunch of X-Men team on them, but they were literally all in suits, and then Xavier was like in this weird golden white kind of version of his thing with the X helmet, and I was like, no, this sucks, actually. Like Wolverine's on that one, so is Beast, and they're just all in suits. I'm like, they're all in black and white suits, like, this sucks. And all the interesting ones were, I will say, I did like Jubilee's as well. But I genuinely think that Sync is the best dressed, because not only is it a perfect alternative to a plain black suit that is interesting and it's eye-catching, not just that, but also the fact that out of all of these characters I don't know, I chose to look into that character. I chose to look into, like, Sync's powers and story and abilities and all that, purely because of how impressed I was with the outfit. And that's why I think he was the best dressed at this past Hellfire Gala in 2024. But yeah, Sync is on the pyramid. Also, by the way, I was, you know, as I was looking up Sync's outfit and all of his, like, moveset and all that jazz. Moveset, this is not a video game, all of his powers. Because of that, because of looking through all of that, I also saw a lot of covers where Sync is the main, is full color, or not. Oh my gosh, my brain is dying. I almost said color spread. That's a manga thing. The variant covers that feature just Sync on it are all beautiful, because they all have that rainbow aura detailing, and they're just all so cool. And I'm like, okay, this dude seems to be the shit. Now, I didn't read a whole lot of his backstory. I kind of just read, I didn't read his character backstory. I read, like, the backstory of, like, when he showed up in comics, that stuff. So I guess I'll look into, I'm going to look into him more. But I do, he's on the pyramid because he was the best dressed out of all of the ones I saw from the Hellfire Gala 2024. So Next up on the pyramid is a man in a suit. I mean, come on. Next up on the pyramid is Andrew Garfield. And he is on the pyramid because his Oscars red carpet outfit was very similar, if not the same, to the outfit he wore that I showed in a previous episode. It was that awards show and where he put on his glasses while they were presenting, and the internet went crazy over that. It looks similar, if not the exact same, to that one. With a necklace, I believe. But you know, listen, if the fit eats every time, who cares? But he is on the pyramid because he's a real life guy who took the concept seriously took the concept of a plain suit doesn't make you look great. You look good. You could do so much better. This is a carpet event. You can do whatever, dude. Like, you know what I mean? He really understood that concept and did 2 solid color fits. The first one, like I said, looks really similar, if not the same, to the one he wore in that previous thing where everyone went apeshit over him putting on his glasses. Full brown suit and a little brown. I think the gem in the necklace was also brown. Beautiful. Excellent, even. He had a matching timepiece, which I don't usually pay attention to timepieces, but like, because I don't usually pay attention to them because I don't usually wear them. But it was beautiful. And then for his second outfit for the Vanity Fair after party, it was like a light slate blue kind of suit, also very beautiful. Also had a matching timepiece that was way even prettier than the previous one. And I'm not one for timepieces, but it was really pretty. Man figured out how to really nail accessories, you know? So he's on the pyramid this week, because first of all, it's Andrew Garfield. Second of all, he really took that concept to heart that people get bored of seeing a man in a black and white suit all the time. Understandable, have a great day. For some people, it really works. Especially, I particularly like when it's a black and white suit, but they don't wear a tie. Maybe they have a couple buttons undone. It's just a little step further into this isn't just a cookie cutter outfit, which still isn't ideal, but it's much better than a bow tie or a tie. You know what I mean? Bow tie or a tie to me makes it feel a little more like a wedding, which whatever, dude. I think I just don't like black and white suits that remind me of weddings because when I was younger, I was living with a family member that was a pastor, so I had to go to weddings all the time. I think I just got sick of seeing black and white suits because of that. With both with ties and with bow ties, because I'm like, it just makes me think of a very formal event, or it makes me think of high-end meetings, which isn't, you know, these carpet events are supposed to be fun. Have a little fun with it, y'all. Like, and you know, on occasion, a black and white suit isn't bad. I understand that not everyone has time to plan outfits, or in another case, you know, Harrison Ford had to drop out of presenting for this event, so they may have had to get someone new for it, and they may not have had an outfit. So, you know, stuff like that's fine. But I do really think that we should really highlight, and I don't necessarily want to like pedestal them necessarily. I think more like people should be more open about saying that it's more interesting if you in fact don't wear a plain black and white suit. You know what I mean? Like, give us a little variety. I mean, Timothée Chalamet wore a pastel yellow suit. Kind of made him look like the man in the yellow hat from Curious George. But it wasn't black and white. It was interesting. It was different. You know? Give us a little different. Literally anyone take a leaf out of David Tennant's book. Please, I'm begging you. But because he very elegantly had, first of all, not one but two outfits. Most of the men you see at these events don't change into a different outfit either. They usually just stay in the same suit they were wearing. And sorry, sometimes when I record, I listen to music and it just started playing the song from Chicago, We Both Reached for the Gun. And I love that song. Hold on. Okay, I just had to cough. That was all. I didn't, yeah. But anyways, because he had multiple outfits for the evening and also accessorized well, wasn't afraid to wear a necklace, and really knows his color palette as well. He looked great in both colors. That's why Andrew Garfield made it onto the pyramid this week. Because as I was, you know, watching all of the outfits get posted, I was like, that's another dude in a suit. I do not care. But then I paused to see Andrew Garfield and I was like, thank God he's not in a plain outfit. He's got a very well thought out outfit. Anyway. So next up on the pyramid is, and she's back. She might even be, she's even in the same spot on the pyramid, I think. We got Doechii again. This time it's for a couple things. The song Anxiety came out today. Banger. Thank you very much. I also saw a post, you know, it was her post where she was saying when the song was coming out today. And the song's called Anxiety. And I saw that man from TikTok who his whole passion in life is libraries. He responded, OMG, I didn't, or not OMG, but he was like, I didn't know we could schedule Anxiety now. That was cute. That was a cute moment. Also, I do not remember what event it is, but this evening she is at an event. I believe it's at the Louvre. And she's in this beautiful yellow dress. And I was like, and I've seen a couple times this week, I've seen her Instagram stories of her like trying different foods depending on where she is, you know, usually dessert kind of things. And she's just, you know, chilling. She's not necessarily all dressed up for those things, which is great. But you know, you'll go from seeing her in functionally like loungewear eating food to her being the prettiest girl at the party. You know what I mean? Also, right before starting filming, I found that someone had animated like a little scene using a Mii, as in like Nintendo Wii, like a Mii of Doechii, and animated it for that popular audio from Denial is a River. And I will put a picture of that up. That is beautiful. I love it a lot. And also Doechii's so high on the pyramid because I got Doechii on the brain this week. Been listening to Doechii. She's killing it at all times, actually. So that's really good. And that's why she's on the pyramid. Next up on the pyramid, a little silly goofy. Next up on the pyramid is Sabrina Carpenter. I believe she was also on the pyramid last week. Was she? Yes, she was. She was lower on the pyramid last week, but she's a little more relevant in my mind this week, so she goes higher up on the pyramid. So Sabrina Carpenter is on the pyramid this week because of her Brits Awards performance. Or I think it was the Brits Award, or maybe it was just a London showing of the Short and Sweet tour. I don't remember which thing it was, but she was in presumably London, and she had this beautiful outfit that was made to kind of resemble Royal Guard outfits. She also had people dressed as Royal Guard. She had a really cute bit with one of the guards that was really funny. And then she had a outfit change, and then was in this beautiful red lingerie set. And it was really good. Beautiful. She's such a good performer, by the way. Oh my gosh, nails it every time. But it was really funny to me because, first of all, I just loved how much red there was in that whole thing. There was so much of the color red in that. Which I realize I don't really pay attention necessarily to how much of a singular color is in a tour or a performance like that. But it was kind of hard to ignore, but in a good way. But my favorite part of seeing people, online reacting to this is that someone said this is what Barry Keoghan gets for fumbling her so hard. For fumbling that badly. This is what that man gets. Is her, like, this glorious British performance. I thought that was very funny, and I thought that was a fairly good commentary on that, actually, because it's got a little more to it because of his nationality, and the fact that she was doing that in London, and that was great. So I guess, media literacy isn't dead for everyone. Thank God. But that's where she's on the pyramid this week. She's on the pyramid a lot, honestly. This might be like this is her third or fourth time on the pyramid. Let me see if I can. Oh, she's been on the pyramid 3 weeks in a row, first of all. I'm sure she's got another one on here, doesn't she? Maybe it's in my old notebook. But she's been on the pyramid for the past 3 weeks. So, and finally, most relevant in my mind, most hyperfixation level of thinking, of just fixating on all the things she's been doing recently. Number one on the pyramid is Miss Cynthia Erivo. First of all, because, this week, my mind's mostly on the Oscars. Because that's pretty much all that I've really been seeing on the timeline consistently. But her dress for the carpet was this beautiful dark green, and it was very cute because she and I believe Entertainment Tonight asked Cynthia Erivo on the carpet, did you and Ariana talk about this beforehand, as in referring to their outfits? And I'll put them both up right now. Someone asked her, did you and Ari plan on this, basically? And she was like, no, but I feel like we're just, connected on a deeper level. And that this just happened because of that kind of connection. I thought that was beautiful. Also, I am sad that Wicked did not get as many awards as it should have. It only won 2 out of 10 nominations. That feels weird. but also, you know, I didn't see the other medias that won over Wicked. Some of them on purpose. Um, but um, also I saw her performance at the Oscars, and of course her and Ari. I saw their performance of Defying Gravity, and I saw the full performance, and like, first of all, people were like, "Whoa, they sound exactly like the studio recording." Yeah, it's probably because they sound like that naturally. It's not that hard. They're theater trained. Um, but I mean, she nailed the riff. And she was wearing this beautiful dress with flowers on it, and she just looked amazing. And I always think that Cynthia Erivo is, most of the time when she goes to events like this, she's usually one of the best dressed people there. Um, and she's really killing it. And I like that she's very committed to the very long nails, even though in in popular culture, not a lot of people think that long of nails is practical or looks good, but she's committed to that because she likes it. And I think that's really refreshing that she just seems like such a gentle soul as well, with all of the clips of Ariana like reaching out to her, and she knows that Ariana needs to hold someone's hand right now, and knows that she needs that physical touch, and that she's so understanding of that, and that's just so sweet. Their dynamic is really, really good. And I honestly don't think if if either of those roles had been casted differently, we would not have the same vibes. 100% we would not have the same vibes. It would not be, because a lot of the additional hype about Wicked, outside of just the movie and just the theater kids that like the musical, I do think a good bit of the hype is, even aside from all the brand deals that they had, is that anytime they did a PR thing, any interviews or anything like that, there was just an undeniable bond that you could immediately tell, even if they weren't talking and just sitting next to each other. Like, it's beautiful. And I'm glad that people are getting to see that connection, because I'm sure a lot of people in the world haven't actually had a connection that genuine with someone. And I think it's just so wonderful to see, I guess. And that caps out our pyramid. I'm gonna cap us here in general because I yapped way more than usual this time. But needless to say, thank you all for watching. Any support of the channel helps, especially viewership. Thank you for being here. I think it's not said enough how important just viewership is, not even in terms of monetization. I'm not monetized. And because of that, some people may see viewership as not really meaning as much, but it's a lot of my motivation is that there are people interested in me just yapping for half an hour or more. So I really thank you for that. It's really important to, when you are being a creator and it's a very small, very, very beginning creator, any community is nice to have. And I know I'm going to return to streaming probably on Saturday this week. But I think also just even but I my two communities of YouTube and Twitch aren't fully overlap. So it's really nice to be able to see the viewership and go, and that encourages me to continue and to keep making content. So that was a very long-winded way of saying thank you to viewers like you, because that's my motivation. Like I said previously, theater hiatus is over, which means I'll have more time to do stuff like film content, and I'll actually be able to do streaming again for a while. So, I'm also going to be less tired, which is really nice. Didn't realize how tired I was until I slept until 4 p.m. the day after the show ended. So, I was able to wake up at 2:30 today and not be grumpy about it. Crazy. But yeah, I did wake up at 2:30 p.m. I don't have anything to do, okay? Despite my age, I don't have anything to do right now. But that'll be Weekly Hyperfixations this week. Next week is week 10, which is crazy to me. Because there's 52 weeks in a year, and we're already at 10? Crazy work. But thank you all for watching. I'll see y'all next week. Same time, same place. Hopefully I'll have some fun stuff to talk about next week. I'm hoping to talk more about fandom things in general. Mainly because I'm more comfortable talking about that kind of thing, and I started talking a little bit more about things that kind of just drag the vibe down, and I realize also that not everyone wants to have to listen to stuff that's not just silly. So we're kind of rewinding back, we're pulling in the reins a little, being silly again. So we're gonna have fun here. From now on, I'm gonna try to keep it lighthearted and fun. For the most part. Basically avoiding anything depressing or sad, because there's already enough of that in the world. So, that'll be all. I hope y'all have a good rest of your week. And I'll see you next time, So, bye, y'all. Have a good one.